Welcome back, my friend, to this series on the Apostolate of the Laity. Today, in the 9th episode, we're going to talk about invitations, the particularities and specifics and nuance of making an invitation for your personal apostolate. Because what we've been going through in this series is determining and cultivating a personal apostolate. But once you have that figured out, how do you invite other people in? How do you get people to engage with what you're trying to do? That's what we're going to talk about today. Again, the context, what is apostolate? As we've been talking about, it is any apostolic activity aimed towards spreading the kingdom of Christ throughout the earth. So it's something that is for other people, and it's crafted through what we've been going through in the past few episodes, this 4-step OCIA acronym. So we had the offer, which is what you want other people to know, the gospel value that's on offer, the charism, how that takes flesh in and through you and the gifts that God has given you. Third, the intention, what forum, what mode, what method is going to be opportune and enjoyable for you and for other people to invite them into. Audience of who are you going to invite? And now we get to the place, hopefully, after listening through all those episodes, if you haven't, then I would highly suggest you do. We get to the point now of saying, okay, I know what kind of offer I want to make. I know the charisms God has given me. I know what I want to do, what kind of activity, event, method I want to use. I know who I want to invite. Now, how do I make those invites? How do I get someone to engage with the thing that I want to do? And again, this is going to be more for a sort of relational apostolate. Invitation, the context for this episode, be sort of invitation for a relational apostolate. Because as we've talked about, there are many different charisms. A charism like service or helps, which maybe won't result in an apostolate that looks like some event or activity to invite people into or to try to get people to engage with. But there are many different ways, and probably mostly, for the most part, most people listening to this would come up with something like we've said, something like having Sunday brunch, inviting people for Sunday brunch, hosting a little like praise and worship prayer night, playing sand volleyball with a group of people, running a small group Bible study, coordinating like a volunteer opportunity to serve the poor or something like that. And all of those involve you maybe initiating something, running something, getting other people to do something with you. It involves other people. So how do you get people to do it with you? How do you get people to engage? What does the invitation look like? First thing to start this off is what we talked about a few episodes ago and over the past few episodes, is that hopefully whatever maybe you determine to do, like this is going to be my personal apostolate, this is the activity that I'm going to spend my time doing. Hopefully it's something that you enjoy doing even if no one else engages with it. Because the implicit, the possibility when we're talking about invitations is that everyone says no. And if everyone said no, would you still enjoy doing it? I think that is crucial for developing a personal apostolate, because ultimately you might not get anyone to do it with you. You might get like one or two people to do it with you, engage with it. So this actually pushes away a sense of discouragement. If you are simply just doing something that you enjoy doing anyways, that you want to do anyways, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this thing that I enjoy. You want to do it with me? And even if no one does it, still doesn't feel like a waste of your time because you had an enjoyable time anyway. So that's step one. But of course, this apostolate is not just something for us to do by ourselves. It's something to invite other people into. So invitation should be, first thing I want to say, and the biggest thing I want to say, is invitation should be particular. Invitation should be particular. I've said this in the past few episodes, but often when we initiate something like a personal apostolate, we want to go wide. We want to formalize the event, give it a name, make it an organizational thing, make flyers, spread it to the highest leverage opportunities like large group chats, social media postings, putting up flyers in different places like the most people can see it. We want to go wide because we think that that's the most efficient way to invite people. But it's actually not, because efficiency means that it's effective. Efficiency is basically highest amount of effectiveness in the lowest rate of effort or time or something. But the reality is that often a widespread invitation isn't actually effective. So though it doesn't take much time, it might not actually be very effective in getting people. The individualized and particular invitations are actually often what make the most impact or effective engagement. Why individualized and particular, specific to a individual person? Why does that invite work better? One, because you who receive an individual invite feel explicitly invited and not just implicitly invited. Like if I saw a flyer or a posting for an event going on, I might think, oh, it looks like there's something going on, maybe I could come. And there's an implicit invite, but no one told me they specifically want me there. So I didn't get an explicit invite. That is all cast aside when I get an individualized invite from the person running it who says, I want you to be there. That's the second thing. It's I want you there. I don't want just anyone there. I want you very specifically to be there with me. It makes me feel chosen, makes me feel seen, makes me feel wanted. So that just makes the invite much more effective. And lastly, the third thing is that it's effective because that means that the person who's being invited, like if I'm being invited and someone specifically invites me, that means I will know someone there. I won't just show up alone because I know that the person who's running it, I will know them. And because that's a huge thing for someone who wants to come to an event, an activity or something. No one wants to show up alone. No one wants to be there by themselves. Most people don't want to be there by themselves. So an individual and particular invite means that I know I'm explicitly desired and chosen to be there. Me specifically, not just anyone who comes, but me. And I know that I will know someone there because someone specifically invited me to it. So individual invites, particular invites, always much better than the widespread, just implicit invite to anyone. And really what we want to do is we want to start small. If you're running some kind of like new initiative, apostolate activity or something, again, often maybe we want to just say anyone and everyone, as many people as possible. But I think it's better actually to start small with something like this. For one sense, because small groups of people better form culture. Like you have a few people, you can better invest in them, and they feel more investment, and they can form a culture more effectively. Then the culture can grow from the smaller seed, the smaller beginning. You're also better able to build leaders from a smaller group because realistically, you only have capacity to invest in so many people. As we've talked about, apostolate is really people focused. We're investing in individuals to help bring them as individuals to conversion, to know Jesus. And if you have so many people that you're investing in, your just energy is spread so far. So you start small and you can build those leaders, and then when you focus on just a few, can invest in those few and send them out to focus on a few. And then those people can focus on a few. And then it grows from there. It's this little way, this starting small and allowing it to branch out from there. And really what is involved with that, maybe one of the things that make us feel like, I don't know if that's okay to start small, is because we feel like we need to invite everyone. We feel like people will feel left out. We don't want people to feel left out if they don't get invited. But I'm going to say it's okay not to invite everyone. For one, because you don't have the capacity for everyone, like we just said, like you can only invest in so many people at a time. But I think it's actually also okay. The biggest reason it's okay not to invite everyone is because this is what Jesus did. Jesus, who, this is sort of the scandalous particularity of God that I want to talk about. That what Jesus did, the example that we have is from Mark chapter 3. And Jesus has become this sort of like seemingly overnight sensation. He's got crowds following him because there's a great multitude by the lake shore to come to hear him teaching, to come to be healed by him. And then the next verse, it says, he went up the mountain and called to him those whom he wanted. and he appointed 12. Again, out of the great multitudes, it says there's people from all the various regions, from super far away, Tyre and Sidon, which is like super far from Galilee where Jesus is. People have come from all over, hundreds, thousands of people have come to Jesus. And what does he do in the midst of this great multitude? He goes up the mountain and he chooses just 12. That always just like moves me in terms of like, what did everyone else feel? And why did Jesus pick just 12? The reality is Jesus doesn't take everyone. He just takes a few, particularly for a particular purpose. And even further from there, amongst those 12, we have a few moments like the transfiguration, the raising of Jairus' daughter, where Jesus from those 12 just takes Peter, James, and John. Like he has this sort of inner circle of 3 amidst 12. Imagine Andrew, who was one of the first 4, who is Peter's brother. Andrew is left out of that group of 3. Does that mean it's wrong? Clearly not. If Jesus does it, this is the scandalous particularity of God. It's scandalous because it seems offensive, it seems exclusive, but God is particular. This is actually all throughout the scriptures. There's a particularity of God. Does God invite everyone? Yes, of course, but he doesn't invite them the same. He chooses people. He invites people particularly for a particular purpose. God is always particular. Way back from the beginning, like we find Noah, who God chooses specifically. We find Abraham. God chooses Abraham to be the father of a nation, and the descendants of Abraham become the nation of Israel. And God specifically, Israel is God's chosen people. Amongst all the people spread through all the earth, God chooses Israel to be their God. And then this is throughout all the Old Testament. And then in the New Testament, like of all the people who exist in all the world, God chooses Mary to be the mother of God. Like one individual person out of all the people who lived in the world, God has Mary for a particular purpose. And then in Jesus' life, again, we have the 12 apostles. We have the 3 who are this sort of inner circle. But even the people that Jesus interacts with, Jesus goes out of his way to single out the Samaritan woman at the well and to spend the afternoon with her specifically. Out of all the Samaritans that he could have gone to, her. We find the moment where Jesus enters Jericho and Zacchaeus is up in the tree. And out of all the crowd that is surrounding him, Jesus looks up and he speaks to Zacchaeus. He says, Zacchaeus, I'll stay at your house today. Not everyone else's house, but Zacchaeus' house. Why? Because God is particular. God sees our hearts and chooses people particularly for specific reasons. And he has done this not just for people in the scriptures, but he has done this for you and for me. You listening to this right now, you who maybe are fired up for the gospel, you who know Jesus, you who maybe feel inspired to be launched into apostolate, not every person in the world feels that way. Most people don't. I mean, think of all your friends and family. Think of all the people you, go to school with or went to school with, or your neighbors and coworkers. How much do they know Jesus? They know Jesus as much or more than you. Why has God chosen you to be one who knows him deeply? God has called you by name, particularly, to know him, to love him, to experience his love in a way, maybe way more than some of your close family and friends. Why are you the one? I don't know. But what we can see even in our own experience is God is scandalously particular. But what we can also see in this, and this is all throughout the scriptures, it is God is particular through you for the world. That even like Abraham, God says he will be the father of many nations. He says, I will bless you so that you will be a blessing. He chooses Israel to be a light to the nations. Jesus picks these 12 dudes and then says, you will be my witnesses to Jerusalem, to Judea, and the ends of the earth. We talked about this last episode, that Jesus' plan A with no plan B was to choose 12 dudes, average, ordinary dudes, and for Jesus to die and resurrect, and before he ascends says, you will go and proclaim the gospel to all the world. And that seems like the most inefficient way for Jesus to do it. The particularity of choosing just a few to launch a church throughout the world, and yet it worked. And there are billions of Catholics and Christians throughout the world. And this is just how the Lord operates. He's particular through you for the world. All of that to say that invitations can be, and maybe should be, particular, individualized. It's okay to just pray about and decide, as we went through sort of the audience workshop in the last episode, of like, who has God called you? Who's God put in your life to invest in? And you don't have to do everyone. Like, you're not maybe responsible for every single person. God has given you a few people to start small, to make very particular invites, and to go from there, and to do the apostolate, maybe just for a few, and see where it leads. So we make particular, specific invitations. Now, what do they look like? What does it look like when you say, okay, cool, I'm going to make very individualized, particularized invitations? We start with, again, people you know. Because maybe we could talk about this in terms of like two categories of people you know and people you don't know, and this would look different. But we start with people that you know. And it can look really as simple as like you shoot someone not a group text, an individual text or a call or something, but individually say, hey, this thing is happening. I'm doing this thing, this day, this time. I'm really excited for it. Would love for you to be there with me. I actually, when I was in college, I did ran a bunch of Bible studies, ran a bunch of praise and worship nights and stuff. In 1 year of college, I ran a praise and worship night every Friday night. And I can't remember if it was Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, I allocated like 2 hours to just sit there, maybe not an hour and a half, 2 hours, to just sit in my room and to just make individual texts. I had like a list of people of like, here are the people who I would love to invite to this praise and worship night. I'd just sit there and make individualized text messages to everyone. And a bunch of people would come. And I think that it was in part because I didn't just like make a flyer or post everywhere, because I made specific invites, individual text messages. And it can be that easy. And of course it takes a little more time, but it's more effective. And what we want to do within this, again, individualized invitation, is we're trying to get across that this is worth someone's time. So maybe what would make it worth someone's time? What's the substance of that individualized invitation message? Number one, we want it to have some amount of enjoyment for the person. And that comes across maybe through some amount of, they have perceived excitement from you. Like, I'm doing this and I'm really excited about it. I love doing it. And also maybe some amount of personal application. Like, I invited you specifically because I think this would be good for you. I know that you enjoy this kind of thing, or you're looking for this kind of thing. This is something that is personally applicable to you, and that's why I invited you. So it's specific enjoyment for the person. The second piece of it is some amount of community, some sense of belonging, that, again, I'm inviting you and you aren't going to be the only one there. You're not going to be there alone. Basically, people want to know who's going to be there. People want some sense of social proof that this isn't some one-off some one-off event where no one's going to be there. It's going to be super awkward because it's like two people. So to give some assurance, like, and here's who's going to be there. Here are the kind of people who are going to be there with you. To give them assurance that there will be community, enjoyment, community, and third thing would be familiarity. And this basically is just like give them some clarity and give them some details about what's going on, especially if it's something that, like, I don't know, if you have someone who, we're going to play sand volleyball and you know they love sand volleyball, you probably don't have to give them too many details other than like time and place and stuff like that. But familiarity breeds comfortability for people. Like, I know what's going on, I know what we're doing, and then they feel okay saying yes to it. It's harder for some people to say yes to something that is a mystery that they don't know about. So to give some sense of convey enjoyment, like this will be good for you, I know you're going to love it, I love it, I know you'll love it. 2, community, like here's the kind of people who will be there, you won't be there by yourself, at least you know me, it'll be good, there's social proof. And 3, some amount of familiarity, comfortability, like here's what's going on, here's the clarity in the details of what we do. And again, for someone that you know, hopefully this starts from, there's a relationship and there's trust built already. So this isn't just some like random out of the blue invitation. It's someone hopefully that knows that you care about them, that you've already built trust with them. But we start here. You don't have to go crazy on people that you don't really know. Start here. Go deep first with the people that you know. And then from there, maybe we can go to people that you don't know, people beyond. Like if you're trying to expand some apostolate to people that maybe you just met someone, or maybe for example, I work with college students and we're going to do a lot of outreach on campus to people that they will have never met. And how do you make an invitation to someone that you just met out on campus? There has to be some amount of, again, trust built, connection made, but maybe even in like a really short period of time. And that always has to come through conversation. Like the connection has to be made through conversation. So how do you go from hello, my name is this, to an invitation that will be received well? It's small talk. You have to make small talk with the goal of making a connection with someone. I'm going to make more content about small talk at some point, but very, very briefly, is the goal of small talk is not just to like talk and to be comfortable, but to connect on something. Like me to be on the same page with you and to maybe validate your experience of something, and then to ask a follow-up question to dig in deeper, to have some sort of connection where like, okay, I know you and you know me a little bit based on this conversation that we had. There's some connection that we had during this, so that by the end of the conversation, the end of the interaction, you can close with like a, hey, I got to go. It was good talking to you, but I just want to give you one more invitation. Here's this thing that we're doing that I'm a part of, that I really enjoy, that I think would be great for you based on this thing we just talked about. And I would love for you to be there with me. And the last part of this, and that hopefully you've made that connection, you've built some amount of trust and connection with the person, you make a very clear invitation with details, and also if there's a follow-up that you can, ideally, again, if it's someone that you don't know, you've just met, to get their contact info, say like, okay, great, yeah, I'll shoot you the details as a follow-up, just so you have them and check in as it gets closer or something like that. But to get contact info is huge, especially for someone that you just met or that maybe you didn't know before. Because what's super necessary in this, and what we're going to talk about next week, as kind of our last episode in this apostolate series, is accompaniment. Is the process of actually walking with someone after the invitation. Because a singular invite where people show up to something one time probably won't bring about great conversion. It's going to be a long period of time where we talked about in the Emmaus model episode that conversion comes at the pace of relationship. It's walking with and accompanying someone over a longer period of time. So we're going to talk about that more next week to wrap that up. But this is invitation. How to make an invitation, who to make an invitation to be particular, and hopefully convey to them enjoyment, community, familiarity, and details, and to connect with someone hopefully in a way that they trust you and that they'll say yes. But it's a last thing, a thing to close here, is what if you get a no? What if they don't say yes? What if no one says yes? What if you get a lot of no's? And the reality is this is very, very possible. And the first thing is what we said at the beginning is that, again, hopefully you're doing something that you enjoy anyways. So if by chance no one says yes, it doesn't feel like a waste of your time, because it can be very discouraging. If you just get a lot of no's, you're trying very hard to invite people and no one seems to want to say yes. So what do? That's often the case. What I would recommend, I said this a few episodes ago, but to start with, again, by starting small and starting with people you know, start with people that you think you're confident will say yes. Even it's like, hey, friend of mine, would you do me a solid and just come or just engage with this thing? Hopefully if you've got good enough friends, they'll say yes to that. But that's helpful to get momentum, just to begin, just to initiate. Like, okay, I got at least one person who can say yes, or two people who will say yes to this. And from there, then hopefully we can just continue going to fight off some of the discouragement. But I mean, ultimately it becomes a question of, okay, I'm getting a lot of no's, and maybe one is this the right thing? Is this what people are looking for? Or is there a different thing that I could do that people might be more open to, might be willing to engage with, might be more enjoyable or valuable to them. Maybe the apostolate needs to change. Or if you've tried a lot and you're just really convicted about this mode, this sort of apostolate, then it's sort of just a question of, when do I shake the dust off my feet and when do I persist? Because Jesus, when he sends out the 12, he tells them that you go into towns and villages and people who don't receive you, shake the dust of your feet off in testimony against them. And there's some amount of that is just like, there's an urgency of the gospel. There's so many people who don't know Jesus. So on some level, don't waste your time if someone's really not going to say yes. But on another level, it seems a little bit like, but maybe this is the person that God has given you to continue to invite. So how do I know? How do I know whether to just like stop trying or whether to persist and to keep making invites? The necessary thing that we need to always remember is that God's the one in control. Like, God's the one who brings about conversion in people's hearts. God's the one who knows their heart, who knows what he has in store for them, who knows the timeline that they need, what they need, when they'll need it, how it's going to come for them. So if not now, and if not you, it's okay, because God's the one in control. We can kind of entrust it to the Lord and say, Lord, I tried really hard. And we can really just bring this to prayer, and it can take the pressure off of us to say, Lord, am I the one to keep persisting with this person? You know their hearts. You want what's best for them way more than I do. So is it me? Is it this? Is this what you have in store for them or not? Really just to pray about it. And if it's something that you find that you just really keep caring about this person, or Lord keeps putting them on your heart, then persist. If not, it's okay. Certainly we can trust God is in control. God will bring that person back into our lives and back into an opportunity if need be. And if not, if that's not what the Lord has, then fine, we can just move on. But ultimately, persistence in this, like if you just keep getting a lot of no's, my final just encouragement is like, man, if you've been listening to this, like we've got the greatest news of all time. Like a personal apostolate is what's on offer here is the gospel, which is life-changing. It's salvation. It's good news for every single person in the entire world. You have that. And really the conviction of that is hopefully enough to keep you going, even when it's really hard. Like I have had a lot of great blessing upon the sort of apostolates that I have run throughout my, adult years. But I have also had a lot of times where just like get a lot of no's. And no one says yes. And the reality is, I think just what keeps me going is like, this is the greatest news of all time. Like, this is the thing that sets my heart on fire. So if I feel discouraged, just go back to the well. Just say, Lord, give me more of your love. Help me to know your gospel more and more. Set me on fire again and send me back out, renewed, refreshed. The Lord is the source. He is the one who sends us out. So if you ever feel discouraged, like, oh man, this just isn't working, just go back to the Lord and say, Lord, refill me, renew me, send me back out, and help me to never stop trying. Because this is what we were made for, to know Jesus Christ, to experience his love, and to allow him to send us out so that everyone in the world would know the love of Jesus Christ that we have come to know. So continue and persist in making these particular, specific, individual invitations. God has given you people to whom he wants you to share the gospel with, to engage in apostolate. So be bold, make these invitations, find the people, be particular, don't be afraid, and just together, hopefully, in making these invitations, we can continue to change people's lives and change the world.